Okay, there's a lot of noise online about what to spend your money on and what not, especially when you're coming through. But I'm going to share with you today what I spent my money on and what I probably regret, probably would change now, that I've got more experience. So this video is essentially what you shouldn't spend money on, especially in your 20s, especially when you're coming through. And also some of them, I don't think you should ever spend your money on, quite frankly. I do believe there are things you can genuinely cut out your life entirely. You just don't need to do them. And stick around to the end of the video because I'll share with you a bonus of something I did do when I was younger as a millionaire, and now having the experience and knowledge of being an older, wiser guy, I wouldn't have probably have done. So you can learn from me. Hey, it's Steve Staley here, and if you didn't know, when I was just a little nipper, I set up the biggest video games company. It was the biggest independent games company in the UK. I sold millions and millions of games, millions and zillions of games. As a young whippersnapper, I bought some I was still frugal with my money. I did treat myself to a few material things, but in general, I was actually quite good with my spends, my outgoings. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I did well. So the bottom line is I've got quite a lot of experience in spending money. I'm going to share that with you. And you can learn from my mistakes if you think. Actually, you might disagree with me. I'm going to give you some today, and you can let me know in the comments below if you disagree, which is fine. It's all good fun, isn't it? Okay, before we start, for 99% of people, this may apply to you. For the 1% that it doesn't, and you've already financially abundant, then congratulations, you don't need to listen to this advice, you can do what you want. As long as, oh my god, I was going to say something really controversial then, as long as you're not married. Because when you're married, you can still lose everything. Just be careful. Okay, number one, and I'm going to start with the most controversial, because loads of you will disagree with this. Don't buy a property to live in. No. Don't buy a house, because when you buy a house, what happens? There'll be a little few people out there that go, well, I bought a house in 2011 and now it's worth X amount. Forget about that. I'm not even going to talk about that on this video, but I could probably explain to you why you're not making much money on your house, because you're living in it. But what I'll focus on is just a fact. And the fact being, because when you buy a house, you are imprisoning yourself. You are literally imprisoning yourself, in my opinion, because straight away you're going to be paying for liabilities. Straight away you'll be thinking there's things to do around the house, like the roof might need doing, the garden always needs cleaning or cutting or whatever. Or, that's the terrible one, isn't it? Straight away you'll be thinking about all the extra costs that come with living in a house. And you'll probably be thinking straight away, well, renting's the same. No, it's not actually. It's not. Because renting comes with so many more benefits, in my opinion, than buying. This is why I'm renting in Manchester city centre, because it might be quite pricey, but the amount of upside to renting here compared to buying. So yeah, as soon as you buy a house, you are essentially imprisoning yourself, because you're going to have bills from day one, straight away. And those bills are going to force you to make potentially bad choices. Like you're going to think straight away, oh no, at the end of the month, I need money to pay the bills. I need to pay the mortgage. I need to pay for this. I need to pay for that. Yes, I get it. Even if you rent, you're going to have some, you can minimize your liabilities way easier. And it gets better, by the way, if you rent. And also that money that you put into buying the house, why didn't you buy the house anyway, but just put someone else in it and then you rent? Because then you're going to be putting your money to better use. You're going to be claiming the appreciation on the asset going up in value. And also you probably buy a better house to make money on if you weren't living in it, let's be honest. Because you might buy a house that isn't very good buy to let, rather than if you were buying it as an investment, you might even be able to buy 2 buy to lets with that same money. I don't know. It just makes much more sense, in my opinion anyway, to buy and put other people in buildings rather than put yourself in. Unless you wanted to do this, which is up to you, you could buy a massive house, say an 8-bed house, and live in one of the bedrooms and rent the other 7 out. I don't know. For me, it just feels like it's an obvious thing to do. And if you've got quite a bit of money, I get it. Probably not one for you, this, but it's certainly as you're coming up in your 20s, I think it's an excellent thing to do. You can even get a house share with some of your friends. You could get a 4-bed, first house I bought, 4-bed house straight away. Put one of my friends in and we had a great time. I did sometimes rent some rooms out to business professionals that paid me a fortune to stay there. It was a nice house, to be fair. But although I did buy to live in when I was younger, I was still thinking, how can I reduce this liability? Because it was a liability. And as I got a bit older and a bit smarter, I know that buying, even when I was younger now, was a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. When you buy the house, you're gonna have to do all the repairs. When you're renting, someone else will do it. If you want to move anywhere in the country very easily, you can pretty much. You're not really tied in that long. You might have a 6-month rent contract, it might be 12 months, but you can move around a lot easier. And I think if you buy a house, you don't even know how long it's going to take to sell it, to get your money out. You should always be making your money work for you. That's another thing actually. actually. If I was going to buy a house, I wouldn't want to actually spend any money on the house. So if you buy, you've probably heard this 1,000 times before, buy a house for 100 grand, you get a 25% mortgage on it. You only really want to be buying that 100 grand house for 75 grand, so it costs you nothing. So you want to buy below market value. You probably heard it a million times before, but it's so obvious and so easy to do that you can actually buy buildings for nothing. I've done it a few times last year. I'm going to continue doing it this year. You just got to be, I wouldn't even say smart, come on. I don't think real estate is very difficult, and I'm new to it. You just buy below the market value and you try and avoid pitfalls. And even if you go into a pitfall, because I bought a house recently and it was a bad choice, but I managed to sell it for 15 grand more, even though I made a mistake on it. So I bought it in auction, realised, oh no, this is a big mistake, put it on the market, sold it for 15 grand more. I was lucky, maybe. I don't know, but I think the real estate market is very forgiving. So don't just buy a house, rent below your means as well. That's another thing, actually. Save the money. When you get a little bit of money, invest it, which will massively enhance your life further down the line. Buying bottles in nightclubs, what a waste. You know you are who's done this. Don't get me wrong, go out, have an amazing time. Bottles in clubs that really only cost probably, I know I could go downstairs and buy a bottle of Cristal for £250. In a nightclub, you know that that's a grand in it. I don't even know what the going rate would be now. But let's say it's 4 or 5 times the amount. I could go downstairs and buy a bottle of, I don't know, Verve for 50 quid, 60 quid, and I bet you it's 200, 300 pound. Depends where you are. In some places it might be 500 pound. It's crazy, innit? Let's be honest, that is silly. And for those guys out there, and I hope there isn't that many, and I don't think there is in the UK, they might be in America, but in the UK, those places where you can buy a couple of bottles and they come out and they've got little fireworks, sparklers, and all that nonsense that goes on for about 30 seconds, and you get the drinks at your table, and you've just spent about £500, £1,000, £1,500. It's a waste, isn't it? It's a waste, though, isn't it? You agree with me, don't you? Granted, if you've got loads of money, it doesn't care. It doesn't matter, does it? But I just think that's a bloody waste. The bottom line is, and I don't need to tell you this, but alcohol in general is a disaster. It makes you feel sluggish. It ruins your next day. It's bad for your health. It damages your physique. You feel like the next few days. It's no real point for it. I mean, by all means, have the odd blast, the odd drink and what have you, but getting absolutely destroyed every Saturday night, it's just a waste. It's bad for your productivity. You're going to ultimately become less successful, and that's what you don't want, do you? In fact, I remember I was in Manchester not that long ago, and one of the guys with us was like, oh, let's go to some nightclub. And I was just like, what? And he told me how much it was. I was like, absolute waste. It's a waste, because we could just go to one of the amazing bars, I won't say amazing, but you know, one of the good bars, have such a great time and not pay all that nonsense. Just my opinion. I'm not saying alcohol is that bad. It's not good for you, let's be honest. But think about what you could be doing with that money. You could be investing it in stuff that is going to make you money. You're going to make your money work for you rather than just give it away to a bar. And don't always get living for the weekend, because you get stuck and you'll always be thinking, oh, Friday night, Saturday night, waste all your money like a weekend millionaire. Definitely don't do that. I used to see people in Birmingham all the time driving around in Lambos and Ferraris at the weekend that they hired. Weekend millionaires. Don't always be living for the weekend, because your life's never going to change. You're never actually going to get out of the race. You're just going to be stuck. But what you should be doing is trying to get out, get financially free, and then you can do what you want then. Adult phone lines or OnlyFans. Right, you've got to believe me, this is an absolute waste, and it amazes me that men do it. These women, right, they just want your money and they don't deserve it. So don't give it to them, because these women, they don't care about you. They just want your money. And why would you want to do it anyway? Why don't you just go to the gym, get an amazing physique, and have the women chase after you? Like, surely that's a better idea than pay for these silly phone lines or these silly OnlyFans girls that don't even know you. They're only here talking to you because they want to take your money. But imagine if you flipped it and they were actually chasing you. Wouldn't that be better? And it wouldn't be costing you any money. Surely that would make sense. So get to the gym, work on yourself, get an amazing body, or get in shape at least, and work on your life, and then they'll come after you. And also, even if you had loads of money, let's just say, and you just bought someone, surely it'd be better if they wanted to be with you rather than they're with you because you've got money. Like, they want to be with you because of the person you've built yourself into. You've leveled up that well, you've got everything going for you, and they want to be with you. That's the type of woman you really want, surely. And it's all within your grasp, you can do it. And also, I'm going to just share a couple of stories actually with you. So, one of them is, one of my ex-partners was on Babe Station. She was a lovely girl actually. But obviously, being doing that for a job, she's just talking to guys to get the money. Let's be honest. And I remember I was sitting on the couch one night, phone rang in the other room via a laptop, because doing Babe Station you can do it from home as well. So she was rigged up and she had like 3 websites going at once, Babe Station, a couple of others, I can't remember what they were. She goes in and starts chatting to some guy it was quite a while actually, it was about an hour, let's just say. She walks in and just said, I just got paid 200 quid for that. And I was like, what a shame, you know, there's some guy out there just paid £200 on a phone call to someone he's never met. You know, he's just seen a video on a screen and he's chatting to her and she's chatting to him. She doesn't care who he is, let's be honest. She's come back in and started robbing me chicken. So I had chicken and chicken. I was always eating takeout at hers anyway. But do you know what I mean? And she was 200 quid up. Another one, I was down south, let's just say, sitting on the couch again, watching a movie, and this girl next to me was like, yeah, Steve, look at this. Speaking to some guy on WhatsApp, she goes, I'm going to tell this guy to send me £500 now to carry on talking to me. I was like, I didn't take much interest in it, to be honest. I was more interested in the movie. But she was chuckling away, so I goes, right, go on then. So she did, she sent it, and then she sent her bank details, said nothing for a couple of minutes, because we were watching this movie. Next minute, cha-ching, her phone pipes up. He'd gone and sent her the 500 quid. And she was like going, oh, you know, like laughing her head off. I was like, I didn't know what was worse. The guy sending the money, actually the guy sending the money, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, actually. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, I couldn't believe what I was saying. He sent her £500 just to carry on chatting on WhatsApp, someone he's never met. And I was obviously sleeping with her that night. Not that that's important, but I don't know. Surely it'd be better for you to be the guy that's spending time with her, let's just say that. Not the guy sending £500 on WhatsApp to chat to her. Guys, please don't do this. Work on your own life. Work on yourself. You can. This is within your grasp. Improve yourself. Level up. Feel great. You'll feel great about yourself. And these girls will come after you. And do you know what you'll do? You won't even like them. The truth. You might spend a bit of time with them, but then I'm not saying that, I don't want to be judgmental, but a lot of them you probably won't even like when you get to know them. Just work on yourself. The casino and gambling in general, waste of money. Now, full disclaimer before I get going on this one, I did know a guy that worked as a gambler full time and he was amazing. He was like a robot though, he wasn't like most people gambling. He was that good that some company in Asia offered him a full-time job to be a full-time gambler. But that's a story for another day. And he left my business and worked overseas and he was extremely good at gambling. So unless you're that good and it's a full-time job, don't do it. I've seen so many of my friends gamble and they only ever think about winning. Oh, I could win this, I could win that. And they don't think about, yeah, but I think maybe you could lose it. And which most of the time they do. And also, isn't it obvious, like if you go to the casino and play, I don't know, blackjack roulette, and you've probably got a 49% chance of winning, which is, okay, let's just say it's 50%, which is not. There's so many ways, better ways to make money with the odds at 50%. I could literally go out and buy loads of clearance stock if I wanted to. Anyone could. And what chance do you think you've got of making money? Do you think it's a 50% chance? You'd say it's close to 100% chance because you're buying it at clearance, so surely you're going to double or triple your money. Without the thought of losing, you're not going to lose money. You're buying assets that you can exchange for cash. So for me, if you're thinking about gambling to make money, it's terrible. And if you're gambling because you're addicted to it, seek help because it's a waste of money. Just don't go. It doesn't make sense to me. Have I been to casinos before? Yes, I've been to Vegas lots of times. I do love Vegas, but I used to literally walk past all the tables. That was years ago. And also, after that, I just never really did it. There is some in here in Manchester that my friend goes, and I just don't understand it. I just don't go anywhere near them. Ultimately, I wouldn't put me time, effort, and energy into something where I've only got a 49% chance of winning, because ultimately, you will be fighting a losing battle. First class travel and private jets. Now, there will be some cases, 0.01% of times, where it actually might make sense, especially if it's a business expense. You can do it as a tax write-off. But if you're doing it for personal use, what's the point? A little bit of comfort, a nicer seat, or even a bed, nicer food on the plane. I admit it is actually quite nice in first class. Free drinks? No, it's just, yeah, you do get all that, but it's a waste. It is actually a waste when you consider that what is the upgrade cost? I don't know, lately, 3 or 4 grand? And when you think of what you could do with that money and invest that money, yes, okay, it is quite nice on the plane, I get it, but it isn't that good. Is it worth the money? Definitely not. Even in first class, even if you get a bed, it's still quite hard to get sleep. You're still on a plane at the end of the day. I think it's a waste of money, I'll be honest with you. Unless you're financially free and you might treat yourself once a while, that is the only time I'd probably understand it. If you were going somewhere, let's say, you're going to New York, Dubai, wherever, and you land after going through economy, and on some airlines, economy is quite good anyway. Emirates, for example, it's a good airline. But once you've landed, you've got an extra 4 grand there to do whatever you want. And in some places, 4 grand will get you a lot. You know what I mean? You can have lots of great experiences on £4,000. Or when you get back, that 4 grand you've saved, invest it, or buy, or treat yourself. Buy quite a few good things with 4 grand. I just think the cost isn't worth it, even though it is quite an experience. I've been first class and business class before, but when I went to first class, I didn't pay for it anyway, and I wouldn't have, but I got sent there by Nintendo. Thank you, Nintendo. I sold loads of their Wii console consoles and Nintendo DS consoles. But yeah, I wouldn't have done it otherwise, and I wouldn't even be able to say this really because I wouldn't have experienced it. But after experiencing it, I wouldn't recommend it. No. Right, here's the bonus. And at the start of the video, I said I'd tell you about something I bought when I was younger, and I probably wouldn't now. In fact, I know I wouldn't now, and that's supercars. The only exception I'm going to say is when I was 24, as a challenge, I set up a business when I was 22, and I had to get a Ferrari within 2 years after about 18 months, and I loved it. It was a Ferrari 355. It was the car I always wanted, you know, I was just at university. So to some extent, I'll give myself a buy on that. But after that, I bought a Lambo, and the experience was nowhere near the same. It was nowhere near as good as when I bought my first one. I think a lot of people that have bought these cars will probably say the same. After a few, it's just a car. And the Lambo especially, I did enjoy it, don't get me wrong, but it was still the same insurance costs, the same expensive servicing bills, and I didn't use it that much. Now, unless you're a huge car enthusiast, which is probably about 0. Let's say a couple of percentage of you, like real car enthusiast, that like it's the most important thing in your life, I get it then. If you're getting it just because it's a shiny toy you want to show off, or even if you really enjoy it but you're not really that into it, I think the cost, it's opportunity cost it. I just don't think it's worth it. It's just not worth it. I loved my time with my cars, but when I look back, I wish, don't really like having regrets, but if I could have changed something, I probably wouldn't have bought the Lambo. I probably would have invested the money there and then into something else, because I had the great time with the Ferrari. I'd done it, bought it, sold it, done. And I didn't even have it that long before I crashed it. I had it for about 2 years. I had a good time in it. I was only a young lad, and I did want to experience as a kid those cars. I didn't want to get to like 40 and 50 and then buy a Lambo. It's too late. I wanted it when I was 20. That was just something I wanted. So I can give myself a buy for that, but I definitely wouldn't have bought the Lambo. I would have invested the money. After I'd done that first taste, I would have just put the money into something else. And also, when I say put the money into something else, wouldn't it make sense to invest the money? Let's say the Lambo is 100 grand, 150 grand, 200 grand, whatever it is. Wouldn't it be better to invest that money now? I'm at risk of contradicting myself. I'll come back to it in a minute. Especially if you're not into the cars that much, but you like them. Why? Because everyone else sorts of likes them and whatever. Whatever your reasons are, if they're not really passionate about the car, I wouldn't do it, because that 200 grand, let's say it's 200k, you could invest it, and then in 5, 6, 7, 8 years, you might have multiplied your money that much that you could go out and buy a Lambo or 2 Lambos and don't care, because you're already on your way then to financial freedom. It doesn't matter. So yeah, I guess it comes down to some extent how passionate you are, but for most people, I think that you'd be better off investing the money and making loads more money, loads more passive income, if you want to call it that, and then get yourself to financial freedom, and then you can do what you want. In fact, when you're at financial freedom, you can essentially, as long as your strategy is right and that you're constantly bringing in money all the time, you are pretty much free to do what you want, and I guess that's what we all want. So yeah, let me know in the comments below if you agree with me. I know some of these points are controversial, especially for different people are earning different amounts of money, so everyone's going to have their own opinion, sort of depending on their own experiences as well. I get it, but for some of you out there, I hope I touched on some things that do make sense and would have helped you. Maybe now that you're in your 30s or 40s and you think back, you know what, when I was in my 20s, I did waste loads of money in nightclubs. I don't know, did you? But if you did, share your experiences, and I hope some of you, I might have made you think twice about wasting your money. Okay, that wraps everything up. Let me know in the comments below what you think. And I know a lot of people out there earn different amounts of income, different opinions. Some of you might agree with me, some of you might not. But for some of you, I hope I might have made you think twice about wasting your money. And if it's registered and it does help, then great. And also, there might be some people out there that are now in their 30s and 40s that look back and go, do you know what? I did waste a lot of money in nightclubs when I was younger. I wish I never did now. Wish I put that money to use. For those of you out there, drop a comment and let us know about your experience, because it could help someone.